Well, we are starting the second half of the new season of Doctor Who, and it's time we all get into our dot and bubble. This episode, man, I wasn't sure what was gonna be like during the previews. Obviously, it has a lot of overtone and commentary on social media and how if we keep letting technology and social media affect our lives, we'll become dumber as a society. But then at the end, the ending, it hit a whole new level, and you understand the pretense of this whole entire episode in some ways. And Lindy Pepperbean goes from being a potential savvy that had some charisma that was, questionable at best, but also like maybe she's misguided because she's let AI kind of decide her life. And then it turns dark, it turns foul, and she turns easily into the biggest villain that we've seen so far this season. And that includes things like the Maestro and other characters as well. And a lot to think about. I end up really loving Dot and Bubble because of all that commentary. The first half of the episode is giving us very Doctor Light. We're following Lindy as she's discovering and getting outside her quote unquote bubble, Dot and Bubble, which is obviously referring to technology with cell phones and screen times always in our face, and eventually it taking over our lives and allowing it to control us, always being connected to people and having it being at our whim, and what could happen in the future as we get more and more technology prone. I mean, you think about how smartphones are like nowadays. We get our entertainment from them, we get our contact from them, they're always in our hands. So this idea of like a bubble screen around our face, it's not fully realistic, but the concept behind it makes perfect sense in today's world. And I thought it was maybe a little bit overtoned at first, hammered home a little bit, but that wasn't the essence of the episode. That was the first course. Kind of the second course was figuring out what these slug creatures maybe are, and why are they doing things, and why is Lindy able to escape so much. And this was again between the bubble, between the slug creatures and their special effects. This is classic Doctor Who in terms of being cheesy looking, but being kind of scary enough. And when you saw them like get eaten, people get eaten, it was kind of disturbing in some ways. And again, I don't know what the slug creatures are, but they're interesting new additions to Doctor Who, and I'm all for them. I liked it. I liked that kind of weird, cheap looking creature, but still like you get too close and it's like the Sarlacc pit in Star Wars. I thought it was a pretty good use of special effect, and kind of the intensity of Lindy getting out and about, and her dot going down and what that means. I think just does a very good job of just giving you some tension per se, and seeing Doctor and Ruby doing their best to actually try and work them through and work Lindy through and get people saved. And it was working well. And then the writing, the being able to turn the character of Ricky September, the quintessential pop star per se that everybody loves, and turn him kind of into the sophisticated and well-meaning individual who is smart, who doesn't live in his bubble, who understands things and is growing outside of this basic premise, and it's intelligent and nice and forthcoming. His journey and story I thought went really well, and until like we see the eventual turn of Lindy kind of being the villain of this episode. When you learn that these slugs came from the dot, which became a sentient AI that was turning against its people, you see it go after Lindy as the doctor, and everybody discovers it's an alphabetical order, and Lindy Peppermint is next. And I don't know if people would do the same thing she did. I think her announcing that, Ricky September's changed his name and he was actually naming the bee is something that maybe an average human being, you're like, okay, yeah, in life or death, like it's horrible, but we've all seen apocalyptic type shows. We've all seen when you break down the choice between your survival and somebody else's. Most people end up choosing their survival, right or wrong. And that point in seeing Ricky September's downfall is heartbreaking, sad, because he did so much and sacrificed so much and worked so much to help Lindy get to safety. To see her turn so quickly on him when it came down to making sure she was going to live. And that was a pretty heavy moment per se, and I thought it really brought the darkness of the episode coming through. Leading that into when we get to actually meet Lindy and the doctor with a couple of her friends, and at first I was like, okay, these people are just stupid. They're all, that they're kind of self-righteous. But then the tones of racism kind of hits there, and you think back, and everybody in the episode is white per se, and all three of them refusing the doctor's claims to come into the TARDIS and let me go find you guys homes was one a great moment for the Doctor because you see in Ncuti Gatwa's amazing eyes and his amazing performance as the Doctor once again show how important it is for him to save lives, how important it is for him, no matter if they're what type of people they are, whatever, he is trying to save them. And his whole point this episode was to save as many people as he can, but they're turning him away because both a mix of he's not rich and potentially his skin color and the sadness, the rage, and the emotion filled in Ncuti Gatwa's eyes during that moment is a perfect example why he is a great doctor so far. He was perfectly cast, in my opinion, as a doctor, and I think it's going to be a scene that we'll remember him by. Dot and Bubble will be popular or unpopular in different ways, but that ending, that moment for Ncuti, that moment with the doctor when all these people decide we can't, it was one thing to talk with you a little bit in the bubble, but like we're better than you in real life. We're not gonna let you save us because we know what's best, and like it's our duty to know what's best. Man, Ncuti nailed that performance at the end, and just the heartbreak in his eyes, the power behind that was just what I think this show has been hitting home very well this season. The other major thing to talk about is more Susan Twist, this time as Lindy's mom, and guess who notices her? Ruby and the doctor. And there's a few things here that's interesting. One, Ruby kind of remembers seeing her as a hiker, but because this Ruby didn't go through the experience of 73 yards, she doesn't quite know when she saw her face again. The doctor recognizes her as the face from the ambulance. So again, Susan Twist is coming up and up and up. And the more she comes up, the more I think it's going to be the doctor being like, this is something, and we're going to get this probably by the end of the season. We're going to learn who Susan Twist is. And with only 3 episodes left, next week being the Bridgerton episode, we know I think we know she's going to be potentially a picture in that one. I am curious to see where she pops up and what it all means at the end because we know she's going to be in unit somewhere. And I don't think it'll be the master, but Susan Twist just leaves a lot of twists. And we do know Susan, the doctor's granddaughter, was mentioned in the Devil's Court. And there's always a chance that this is some version or different carnations of his granddaughter, per se, or, through timelines. But this is an interesting subplot through the whole series and definitely is appearing to be the main plot throughout the whole series. But overall, I'm going to give Dot and Bubble a solid platinum. This, I think, had endings of a diamond. I do think parts of it were rough around the edges that could be kind of goldy, so that's why I ended on a platinum. But man, I wish we had more episodes, and I cannot wait to hope the rest of the season we get proper time with Ncuti because between last episode and this episode, we haven't got enough Doctor, and Ncuti Gatwa has shown just with the one scene he was able to have here, his emotional power and what his doctorness and his acting, and I loved it all the way through. But tell me your comments down below. Are you as positive as I am on Dot and Bubble? Maybe you're more positive than me. I can't wait to hear your comments, like, and subscribe, and I can't wait till we talk next week when I believe maybe it's called Rogue, but the Bridgerton episode hits Disney Plus. So until then, check out other stuff on the channel, and I'll see you there.